Welcome to my series on individual relationship counseling. If you're watching this video, there's a high likelihood that you have been sent this link to these videos, the link to these videos by me because you contacted my office requesting relationship counseling, marriage counseling, couples counseling, and I sent you this link. The reason I am making these videos is because I want to explain exactly where I'm coming from start to finish, the entire rationale behind why I do what I do, how I do what I do, and give you, as the prospective client, all of the information you need. That's how I am. If somebody wants to sell me a new idea, let's say, I want to know why. I want to know what you're doing this for, why you're doing it, what's the rationale, and everything that I can possibly learn about it. And especially if it's something that is a bit unconventional. And admittedly, doing relationship counseling without it being what we call conjoint, two people in the same room, is a little bit different. So let me start there. I want to start by explaining how that all came about. Now, when I was in graduate school back in 2000, 1999 is when I actually got in. 2000 is about when I would have started my actual counseling practicum, where I was actually seeing clients. Now, at the time, and I think still to this day, conventional practice was to see both partners in a relationship, whether that was a marriage or just a significant other relationship, an intimate relationship. You saw everybody together. And honestly, I did that for a lot of years without ever questioning the efficacy of that practice. However, being in the business that I'm in and being the person that I am, I'm always questioning everything, especially things that are simply accepted as conventional. Now, what I found is that, as it turns out, no one has ever actually done any research to see whether it might work better to see members of a couple, whether married or, again, just in an intimate relationship, individually. Now, this would sometimes happen by chance. Perhaps one of the partners refused to come back, or maybe one of the partners refused to come in the first place. And what I noticed right away was how much more productive it was to be talking to just one person rather than two people who are obviously in some sort of a crisis. I mean, that's when they finally come to me. And how much more pleasant it was, how much more learning took place. But yet, I have to admit, I continued to do the conventional way for quite some time because that was what everybody expected. But finally, I had to face the music. And for about 5 years now, I have worked my way completely out of doing any counseling the conventional way, which is conjointly, two people together in the same session. And quite honestly, I wish I would have done it a lot sooner. I really feel like I wasted a lot of hours trying to do marriage counseling the traditional way. Now that I do it with individuals only, I find it to be at least 200%, perhaps 300% more effective. And here's the reason. Relationships only get better when both partners, both people in the relationship, decide and commit to making internal changes to their own perspectives and their own paradigms. They both have to commit to doing that, and that's best done individually. What I've found is there is literally nothing that I can learn from seeing two people together in a session that I can't learn talking to each one of them individually. Now, on the contrary, there are many, many things that I'm going to learn individually that I would never see in a conjoint session. And as far as the learning my clients do, there's no comparison. Individual counseling, being just one-on-one with me, absolutely smokes conjoint conversations by a landslide. And let me tell you why. Having a couple try to practice a set of mental or emotional or behavioral skills when they are with each other in the room is simply pointless. They're too riled up. There's too much emotion going on. There is too much in the way of what we call diffuse physiological arousal, commonly known as flooding or fight or flight. And Gottman, who I'll talk a lot about in this particular series, pointed that out. He was already on to that back in the 70s when he started actually doing his work, which I will get into. What he found in his research, and is actually did this in a laboratory setting, which is pretty cool. I'll explain all of that as well. But for now, right here, what he found was that when people started to flood, that is when their heart rates got above 100 beats per minute on average, all learning went out the window. And guess what? People who were in conjoint sessions working together immediately, almost immediately, when they were asked, okay, so what's the problem? They zoomed well past 100 beats per minute. Now, what he proposed doing and what he tried for a while was to have each of them wear a heart monitor, a Holter monitor that was set to beep when their heart rate got above 100 beats per minute. And he actually had people do that. Well, turns out that's not very practical, right? For a lot of reasons. First of all, having the equipment, having people willing to do it, not thinking that's super weird. And the other piece of this is once you hit DPA, once you get into flooding or fight or flight, it takes a good 20 minutes for that adrenaline to clear. Basically, what you would have to do is teach them self-soothing techniques, probably get up, take a walk, try to clear their mind. It's going to take 20 minutes. And the minute you sit back down and talk about the problems again, it's going to go right back up. This is a skill that takes a lot of time to learn. By then, the session's done. So it was a good idea, I suppose, in the beginning to try and use these Holter monitors, but in practicality, it just didn't work. And I can see exactly why it wouldn't work. So I don't do it. What I want people to do is to practice any skills I give them on their own, in their own environment. And if a couple, if both members of the couple are not willing to practice these new skills on their own, they're never going to learn anyway. And those are the skills that I teach people how to do, and they can do it in the comfort of their own home and tape themselves and then listen to those tapes and send them to me. That is how I will find out what's actually going on in their home. So for those reasons, I have decided that I am no longer doing conjoint sessions. I'm only doing sessions individually. Now, the rest of the tapes in this series explain so much more about my approach and so much more about my rationale and my theory, I guess, and my strategies. But I just wanted to get that out there first. That is the main reason that I am no longer doing conjoint sessions. They are simply counterproductive, quite unproductive. And I could go on and tell you about the so many times where people have gotten so upset. I mean, sometimes I walk out in the lobby, I already knew there was nothing good going to happen. You know, I would see the husband sitting on one, far across the other side of the couch, scowl on his face, and the wife just sitting silently. And I thought, nothing good's going to happen here. In fact, I think I could count on one hand the number of times that something like that didn't happen. It was just pretty rare. Almost all the time. People would get upset, even if they didn't show that they were upset, they would. And you could tell just by how people acted, their body language. And it's like, well, nothing good's going to happen here. And by way of contrast, individual counseling has been fantastic. People learn, and then they can go apply what they learn back at home. They can tape that, send that to me. I can critique. It actually works beautifully. Because at the end of the day, and relationships, yes, they're an interpersonal problem, meaning the problem is between two people, but the only solution is an intrapersonal approach, one that changes each individual from the inside. That has to be done individually, and there has to be a commitment to that. And I want to see that commitment. And so with that, I commence to launch this series of videotapes. And if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to contact me. I would be happy to further explain whatever might not be explained in this series of videos.